Arts. My name is Katie Hecklinger. I'm a very proud CEO here at BlackRock, and I can tell you we've been waiting a very long time for this day. We've had a vision for this exhibition for 3 years. Our Latin Rhythms and Hispanic Heritage Festival has been going on quite some time, and of course without showcasing the work in our galleries, and it's not complete. And so we were thrilled, and we wanted it to be local, and we wanted it to reflect the community, and we wanted it to speak to all of the various stunning cultures represented in this exhibition. What's been challenging is we have been without gallery leadership. So when we met Tamara Wright in May and just clicked, you know how you meet those people and you work well together. And I said, Tamara, you're going to stick with us for a little while. Right? So we shared our vision and the goals around this exhibition, and Tamara really just took off and ran with it. That being said, she has only agreed to stick by our side as a gallery director consultant through January. So I'm going to do a little plug. The gallery director position is open, it's part-time. Tamara's life is full, and she manages to continue to keep BlackRock a priority and loves us like only she can do. So she's going to really speak to the work and the artists and dig in, and I just want to brag on Tamara a little bit. So excuse me, I'm going to read her bio, because when I went through how I would share highlights, I was fearful that I would forget something. So Tamara Wright is a dedicated arts manager and curator committed to advancing the contemporary art field by prioritizing intersectional representation and diversifying programming. Voila. Right? She holds a master's degree in arts management from American University and a BA in communications, and that might explain why we click so well. Before joining the Arlington County Public Art, I tried to recruit her for this position, but she's working for Arlington County. She worked as a marketing manager at Prince George's African American Museum and Cultural Center, Glen Echo's Visual Arts as exhibition manager in Maryland, and most recently as fellowship director at Hamilton Artists. So an incredible array, and now we can add BlackRock Center for the Arts to that distinguished list. She's curated exhibitions in the DC region, in Prince George's African American Museum and Cultural Center, College Park, Maryland's Milk Boy Art House, Banneker Douglas Museum, Higgins Gallery, Glen Echo, Hamilton Gallery, and of course here at home with BlackRock and the Creeker Museum. So add those to your lists if you have not been. One thing we need right now is for you to go out and support arts organizations, small, most importantly like us, but of course big. Enjoy. I was just in Rome, so and Florence. So all of it, take it in. It's what fills our bucket in terms of life. And she's local. She's been working in the DMV since 2017. So please give Tamara Wright, who made this happen. Bringing these 8 amazing artists to Germantown.
You're wonderful. Thank you all so much. Like you heard, my name is Tamara Wright. I'm an independent curator in the DMV and currently managing operations here at BlackRock Center for the Arts. I chose the title for this exhibition, Estamos, Aqui, We Are Here, because what is a better way of saying we are here than by celebrating, preserving, and sharing the cultural heritage of the many Latino countries represented in this show. I'm honored to have the opportunity to become familiar with the artwork, voices, and perspectives of the local Latino artists selected for the show. Okay, I'm going to read names, so forgive me if I'm a little bit off. Eddie Leonel Aldana, Maria Brito, Maria Elias, Michelle Goldchain, Camila Franco Rivero. Oh, no.
You got it.
Gomiche? Okay, Luis Navas Reyes, Sandra Perez Ramos, and Roxana Rojas Luzon. Okay. So much of my mission as a curator of color is to facilitate new opportunities for intersectional perspectives and diverse perspectives to confront monolithic ideas and notions we have about groups of people and individuals. I believe that art serves as a tool to humanize us all. It's a tool for compassion and opens up opportunities for many conversations that are not typically had. In approaching the show as a Black woman, I thought about my own culture and background, what kind of stories, nuances, and discussions I look forward to when approaching an exhibition. Visual arts is a visceral and intimate space as these artists share their lives with us, their thoughts, history, family dynamics, memories, and traditions. And in turn, this experience with the artwork affects us, the viewer, to question ourselves and the world around us to see and connect with deeper understandings. So with that said, I'm going to let the artists introduce themselves and give a little bit about your background, your practice, and where you're from. You can start.
I'm starting?
Yes.
Should I start on the other end? Hi everyone, my name is Camila. I'm a photographer born and raised in Brazil. Most of my work, well right now all of my work is focused around my family, and the reason for that is it's the one variable in my life that I know it doesn't change. As immigrants, we come and we go, and we're often, well let me speak for myself, I am often in the position of being in between, where I don't belong here, I don't belong there, and my family is the one constant in that life that doesn't change.
I'm Maria Elias. I'm from Georgia, but my family is from Mexico. And as a first generation Mexican American here, I've had to deal with the same kind of battle of in between not belonging to America or Mexico. But for me, my work focuses on family, but also culture and also mental illness. And in the piece that I have in this gallery today, it focuses on my dad. So I like to commemorate my family as well.
I'm Sandra Perez Ramos. I am originally from Puerto Rico. I've only been here 17 years, still adapting. It takes a little. And so my work here is about, it depends, because I have three different series here that I will be talking about later. But right now my focus is on magical thinking, syncretism, folklore reinterpreted or revisited in a more contemporary way, and also I'm focusing lately on public art, and I'm doing art for the community. So that's it.
I'm Michelle Goldchain. I'm a DC-born, Northern Virginia-raised artist, photographer, and writer. My parents are from Honduras and Chile, and I'm so honored to be a part of this beautiful exhibition. So excited. You might know me from bylines that I have editorially. I have written in Curbed, Vox, Washington City Paper, Washingtonian, Washington Business Journal, tons of local publications. And I don't have a specific subject because I'm always changing my minds on things. It's hard for me to focus on just one thing, so you might find different subject matters, different mediums. But yeah, happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Maria Brito. I'm from Venezuela, born and raised in Venezuela. I have been living here in the DMV area for about 17 years. I am an architect and a visual artist, and I was involved in human rights activism for my country here in the DMV area for several years. The pieces I present today, I'm an honored to be here, and I like to present to the people, to the community, had to be with the struggles and the feelings that Venezuela have been having for several years. So I believe and I want that these feelings, you can get connected to this feeling that we all live every day, even if we are migrants. So thank you very much for having me here.
My name is Roxana Rojas Luzon. I was born and raised in Peru. I do collage. I use papers, fabric, etc. And I realized that I am focusing on children, especially from family, from friends, for my semi-realistic work and for my abstract work that has to do more with my life here in the United States. I'll say is embraces. So that embraces abstract and children, semi-realistic, which has to do more with my identity, my background as a Peruvian person with a large family, you know, lots of kids running around the house and stuff like that. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Luis Navas. I'm an interdisciplinary artist and art educator. I was born and raised in Northern Virginia, and I love to do a lot of printmaking. It's my passion, it's what I find the most challenging. And in terms of my work ranges from identity, ancestral past, landscapes, abstract landscapes, geometric forms, architecture. There's a lot there, and subtle meanings and active seeking and stuff like that.
Hi everyone, my name is Eli Leonel Aldana. I'm originally from here in Germantown, Maryland. My mom's house is like half a mile that way. And I'm from here. I went to school in DC. I recently got my master's in Nebraska. And my work uses personal memory and world history to examine my family's place in the Guatemalan diaspora. And so the two videos that are here are mine, and they're part of a larger project called Me Tengo Que Ir, which means I have to go. And that project focuses mostly on migration and deportation to and from the US, and also US intervention in Latin America. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here and excited to be showing with all these wonderful artists.
Thank you. Can we all give these artists? Beautiful work. I have to turn around so I can see all of your pieces. Estamos Aqui means we are here. The statement is unified in Latino pride but diversified in nationality. And that to me is powerful. Can you all talk about what that means to you? Let me think about it and then, you know.
Could you repeat it?
Estamos Aqui means we are here. The statement is unified in Latino pride but diversified in nationality, where each of you are all from, right? And your parents and your grandparents, where they're from. And that to me is powerful. Can you talk about what that means to you?
I can say that what unifies us is our language. Once we meet here in this country, we all feel that there is something in common. We speak the same language. It's hard for us to speak English all the time because it's not our mother tongue. So when we get together, we really celebrate all the time. You know, for any reason we get together, and we are from different countries. There is the diversity among us. So I'm from Peru, Maria is from Venezuela, Sandra is from Puerto Rico, but we have a lot of things in common, and I think that's what unifies us, and somehow everybody has something from their own country intrinsic in their artwork, in their imagery, and that's what we show. You know, we express our emotions, our feelings, and that's what we try to show in our work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of overlaps too, right? Like, I'm not an immigrant, but my parents were immigrants, right? But like, there's so many experiences that they've had that I can relate to, but also we can relate with each other. And language is one too, but also like, there's so many differences between like Central America and the Caribbean and South America, but there's like so many experiences that are very similar or the same oftentimes, and I think that's something that brings us together.
I was exactly what he said. The fact that there is some overlap in certain experiences, but then the fact that I was telling you in my what I wrote for this exhibition, there is a misconception that we are one culture, and we are not one culture. We are many cultures. So when we are here from the American gaze, or from the viewpoint of the American, or from other cultures that don't know there are so many different Latin countries that we have different demographics, different politics, different history, different location, different dialects. Because there's like I'd say I understand 90% of Mexico, or Venezuela, but there's a lot I don't understand sometimes if we start speaking our own languages, because we come with languages that are informed and influenced by particular heritage. Like, for example, in Puerto Rico, we have mixing with our Spanish, which is not a pure Spanish, West African, tons of West African words. We use them daily. Taino, which is our native indigenous heritage, we have tons of words. We have words that are from the Arabic, from Spain. So our Spanish is not really a Spanish, it's, and we talk with someone from Chile or Peru, and there's a lot that we don't necessarily understand. So I love dismantling that for people who think, oh, Latino, Cinco de Mayo. I have no idea what Cinco de Mayo is. I learned what pupusas are here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Being in the U.S. has taught me more about other Latin countries than when I lived 30 years in mine. So it's actually very interesting and very complicated from that perspective.
As Sandra says, I agree with that. When many Americans think that we are Latino, that we have the same celebrations or we have the same food, and as she said, it's not true. We have similarities, but we have this difference too in the culture and the different celebrations. But we connect because of the language, certainly, even with the differences. Because I believe the behavior is similar. The behavior and the connection between one people and the other, we are easy to connect with each other. I don't know if you know what I mean. We don't feel like a barrier. It happens to me. It happens to me. If you're a Latino, I don't feel a barrier. I don't know, maybe because of just the language or the heritage that we have. The other thing, as a Venezuelan, this meaning of we are here, estamos aquí, for me it's like we are having a new opportunity. We are here and having this here right now with the exhibition. But in many things, we are having like a new opportunity to go ahead and have a new life and have freedom and have our family here or help our family in our country from here.
Going off of that, that's exactly like what I saw the title as Estamos Aquí. Like, we're literally here in this space that isn't meant for us. That's usually occupied by white cis males. And here we are as a group in this space that isn't meant for us, but we are here. And just even being in going to a primarily white institution, I felt that as well. And being here surrounded by other Hispanic artists is such a surreal feeling because this is something I rarely ever see. So I'm really happy that this has become an exhibition.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're similar to what you were just saying, where in the past, a lot of people that came here would have to assimilate to the culture, and there was that kind of history of assimilating to the American, culture in the past. But as time has changed, I think we can as voices our voices as POC people are more amplified. And I can say estoy aquí without proudly and not have to hide that in any way. I can just say it openly, whereas the past it might have been different. And I think that's what estoy aquí is. It's almost bold now to be able to say that. Yeah.
I feel like through the arts in Latino culture, that's how you can really see how different cultures are, through dance, through music, through culinary arts and visual arts. So that's something that I definitely wanted to capture in this So a common thread in your work is storytelling. Could you all talk more about the narratives behind your work?
If I can read mine, I can.
You want to start?
I would like to read my thesis.
Oh, sure.
And I can talk. Yeah. Throughout the years, Venezuela has become a country where the identity of its people has been subjected to indoctrination and repression, as many of you know. Despite the changes that the ruling authorities have sought to be introduced Venezuela between the country as well as the millions who have migrated in search of freedom and a better life, have made sure to be close to its symbols and even dressing in colors of those of our flag. We are people that used to be very happy, but persecution and repression has forced us to live in fear. We take comfort in prayers, commonly keeping a rosary at home and wearing it for protection. We look to religion as a refuge, and we carry objects that identify us to all parts of the world. Venezuela has been in prayer, asking for justice, freedom, relief, and strength to those who have suffered, as well as the peaceful eternal rest of those who have lost their life fighting for our freedom. We are here and in many countries around the world, but we in Venezuela, we win all. In my artworks, I want to spread this feeling of love and struggle for our country that many of us carry, this deep identity of PR Venezuelans around the world. So this is what is the history in my artwork.
I feel like storytelling is a really big part of my work. And the way that I was thinking about it was how storytelling in my family has been used as a way to share memories, but also trauma and just general experiences. And it was like also a way to get to know people that I've never been able to meet, you know? Because my parents came to the US, I never met any blood family until I was like 8, right? And so it's like storytelling is a way to bridge gaps in so many ways.
Well, in my case, I think it's very personal because I am the youngest of 11 children. So, and I'm the only one that is out of the country. So all my brothers and sisters are in Peru. My mother is there. My father died, when I was 17. And the time when I go back to Peru and we have the family reunions, which are loud and lots of music and food and craziness, kids running everywhere, and so that's what I bring back here. That's part of my emotions and my story. That that's my collage. You see kids, they are my family. They are my nieces and nephews, or sometimes grand-nephews or grandnieces. I see them, I take pictures when I go to Peru on my vacation. I come back renewed and happy, and then I just start collaging them. So that's my storytelling, how happy, how festive we are, and colorful.
Just to piggyback off of what you said, where stories can bridge gaps. As someone who was born here in the U.S. and my parents immigrating here, it's the stories that they tell me that instill like my morals and my values, right? It's the stories about their experiences. They're from El Salvador. Their experiences of the Civil War, the brothers and sisters they lost. Their friends who would have to like go off and fight when they were little kids and stuff like that. So it's like those stories bridge the gap of the past, because without those stories I would be lost. I would just be another person, like just this like, I don't know, just existing here in Northern Virginia. But it's the stories that like add to the value of what my experience as a Latino person is. Yeah.
I just want to say that being a Black American, these stories are lost. Like my ancestors, it's like this invisible history. So, like you're speaking to, what kind of person would you be? It's like this is how we exist every day. So, That
Yeah.
might make me emotional, but
And we have
let's
also,
continue.
with like colonization, and
Yeah.
there's so many more. Like when the Spaniards arrived, they burned all the book, the Aztecs books, and just like 5 survive now. So it's like all that's just been lost to us. Yeah.
So I don't know if people know, that's another situation that I like to help people out on or re-educate. Is that Puerto Rico is a colony of the United States. And so when we feel completely immigrants. Technically, we're born with a citizenship, but we cannot vote for president. So colonization happened twice in Puerto Rico, first with the Spaniards and now with the American since 1898. So there's a lot of interesting situations that have happened since then. So not every Latin country wants to be saved by the U.S. And that's another topic that's interesting. But we meet here, and I sometimes politically we have very different perspectives. So that's another topic that I think is interesting to bring.
And going back to the idea of storytelling, I think the stories that even talking to my family on a weekly basis, that's what keeps me not only sane, but it reminds me where I am from, and it's funny because there was a lot of conversation about language, and I feel like Brazil is so separated from the rest of Latin America because of the language barrier. So even when I'm interacting, I'm here sitting with, I think everybody here speaks Spanish but me. I speak English and I don't speak Spanish. Say it again?
You're not alone.
Oh, okay. And I was like, and it's like there's that gap, and I think talking to my family, that layer of storytelling reminds me, like Portuguese, these are my people, that's where I come from. That's at the end of the day, it helps me to not let go of myself completely, to like just assimilate and do what we have to do to get through the day. And
Just like you said that your family keeps you sane, my family keeps me sane too, because like moving away from Georgia and then living over there, like it's so hard with this distance, and I can only imagine what my parents went through when they came to this country and left all their family behind and couldn't even communicate with them. Like now we have FaceTime and I can talk to my parents any day, but my parents had to go like weeks without getting like a letter from each other or something like that. And for me, those stories of them telling me how they grew up and how they had to like play with rocks because they didn't have toys or stuff like that keeps me humble and keeps me motivated to be where I am and to be the person that I am today, to continue this artist career, because if they went through all of that, like what am I doing? Like I have to commemorate them and show off like what they did in order for me to be here today.
So when I think about contemporary art, I really connect with materialization and the materials that artists use to tell their stories. So could you all talk about the materials you use and why?
I can start with the first image I have there. It's a collage. I'm a acrylic painter, but I don't know why I love cutting and pasting stuff. So when I see an image, I start having these ideas, crazy ideas in me that I have to put on the canvas or on the material where I can add it. So in those two pieces that are mixed media kind of collage, yeah, I'm adding images that have to be with Venezuela. This one have one of my photos there. And it had to be more that one with migration and belonging to the world and belonging to the planet, but belonging to my country. And that one that is a mixed media too. And right now I'm doing what now is called upcycle art. I recently knew about this new kind of word that is or tag for the art. So I very concerned about what is happening to nature since I'm a child. So I try to recycle stuff, create waste. And for example, the little piece where everything is on it was given to me, so it's not on the trash. And immediately when I have this, I thought about like a mini altar that I wanted to do for Venezuela. Then I thought about the candle. I didn't know what I was going to put on there. I thought about small images, but then I said, no, we are praying for our country, so it had to be the image of Venezuela. So I create this image, is created with the egg cartons. These are pieces of the egg cartons. And as you see, it's in pieces because my country, as I feel it, is in pieces. Even we are trying to keep it together, it's in pieces. So this is why it's like that. And there is the cross that is really very meaningful to us because of the people who have been dying because trying to search for the freedom. And the rosary, I made it myself. Even I have one. This one was made for my godmother. A lot of people in my country do these rosaries and share with each other, and even here people do it as my godmother, and they put it in the humanitarian boxes. They send it to Venezuela to share with the people or to keep the humanitarian aid safe. Then after this, I'm not a photographer, but when I made that piece, I put it on the wall where I had some religious pieces, and I thought about, I had to take a picture of this because in my country we have like this kind of altars, if I can call it like this, and we pray on that, or it gives us feelings of hope, and then I took the picture that is out there with the piece and some of my religious items that are in my wall. As I remember, like my mom, they have these religious items on a table or on a wall. But this is about what the materials I use and what it means.
Well, I do collage and mixed media. The reason I started doing collage was because when I was pregnant, I didn't want to use anything that was toxic for my baby to be born. And since then, and that was in 2000. So since then, I have been using paper, fabric, feathers, whatever I can put in my work. And paper is very interesting now, I realize, because, now newspapers are more in the, they don't have paper anymore. But you will still have catalogs and, magazines. At some point, I think we are not going to have any more paper. Everything is going to be digital. So I'm using the paper and reusing it, I think it's a good thing. It's reusing something that is there and trying to be creative. As a creative person, I can do it, and I'm happy with that.
I didn't think about it that everything is going to be digital. This is at some point, because we receive a lot of paper in this country, so many images, and we have to do something with this instead of putting the trash.
Yeah.
But thinking about it is like, oh, okay, we have to save the images then for the future. Maybe. This is good.
I have in the past, not in these artworks, but my children's inflatable pools, when they break, so they always tear at some point. I was looking, what can you do with all this yardage? It's a lot of vinyl. And so I was looking, and Montgomery County doesn't recycle it, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I started incorporating it into everything that, acts like fabric or folds like fabric. So I started incorporating it into some of my other artwork, and also it's kind of kitsch, fun, and a little ridiculous because it's shiny and plastic. It reminds you of plastic. Nobody thinks that's a good fabric, but there's so much of it. It's waste, so you might as well, like you say, find a way to reuse it and give it a good use. But I also use all repurposed materials and threads, and if I work on something and cut it up, the little pieces, I keep them, a little OCD with that, with keeping everything, because I know eventually I'll find a little corner where I can use it for another artwork.
I want to hear from your work is so, it's like performative, but it's also like a portrait of who you are, and I just wanted to know more about, have you always used video or multimedia work to talk about, you know?
No, it like just started in my second year of grad school, where I was having trouble trying to get my ideas across. So I started to move away from strictly photography into audio and recordings. But then I discovered this whole world of like using and abusing archives, you know, in like every single way possible. And found imagery and then making video and then putting them together to kind of get my ideas across. I thought it was like the best way to do that. And like in grad school I started watching a lot of films too, where I think that influenced me a lot in wanting to make more video type things, and performance as well. I think it fits in well within the video. These two videos are part of a series that have 11 videos. So all of them have some performative aspect to them. And yeah.
How has your artwork created deeper relationships with yourself, your community, and your family? I know we've touched on some of these topics, but if any of you want to explore.
Yeah, I'll talk again, but something someone had said before about Puerto Rico being a colony. I think one of like the thing that has created a sense of community too with people viewing my work is like all of the people around the globe who've been affected by like U.S. intervention, colonialism, and destabilization. I think it's like we might not have so much in common, like literal things in common, but we have like these like, I guess, like historical and political things in common, the way that the U.S. has engaged in our countries, whether it's in the U.S., whether it's in like the Western Hemisphere, the Eastern Hemisphere, in Africa and Asia, wherever. So it's like, it's been like a way to relate with so many other people, because like so many of the traumatic experiences that maybe some of us, maybe our parents have felt, are not specific to Latin America.
How has your work helped you to create deeper connections with yourself, community, and family? I know we've talked about some of those things, but so I want to talk about some of the symbolic meanings behind like specific pieces. Sandra, this mask, and I know you have like a series of mask pieces, and it's digital artwork, and I know it's attached to traditions in your culture, and I would love to hear more about that. And so everyone knows a little bit more.
So it's inspired in the vejigantes, which are called vejigantes because they carry vejigas, which are the cow's bladder. It's a character. Nobody knows the origin, but it's in festivals and carnivals in Puerto Rico. Festivals more than carnivals, and so it's like a trickster. So there are two towns in Puerto Rico that are well known for doing two different interpretations. One is paper mache, the other one's coconut, using coconut and carving coconut. And it's a beautiful tradition, but it's also linked a little bit to our Afro, the towns that are more Afrocentric in Puerto Rico, in a very ironic way, because most Latin countries do have a festival that was in honor of Santiago by the San James. I think it's the equivalent of Santiago Apostol. So that was meant to be to these demons, these characters who were tricksters and who would trick on people and bother people during these events. and scare people, but they were symbolic of the Moor, pushing out the Moor from Catholic Spain. But then in Puerto Rico, it's taken a new, reinterpreted, a completely different take, because it's the Afrocentric towns that are the ones that really know and have continued doing this mass. There's so much mix there. We are so diverse. We say, so since we're in kindergarten, we're told, okay, we're hybrid, we're mods. You know, you are Spaniard, African, and indigenous. When you come here, you see all these boxes and these categories, and everybody wants to be so, oh my God, what are you? You're Latin? I don't understand because you're black. Well, we have black, we have white, we have all the brown shades that you can imagine. In one family, the genetics is amazing. You can have all the colors. I recently went with my boyfriend, who's a German British, to Puerto Rico, and he was like, what is going on? This is so interesting. Because one family, you could see 5 children, all shades, all mixed. And he was like, this is so incredible. So he's used to, maybe he's lived here long to see that these categories that are very narrow, or these identities that are forced in order to define or understand a different culture, are pushed to us. But yes, going back to the mask. So I started an ink drawing, and from there I started deconstructing it digitally and mirroring and doing a lot of effects, and a whole series happened. So I call it a more contemporary interpretation of the traditional hijab.
It's beautiful. I want to see like massive.
I also try to bring in other like oceanic traditional mask making into it. So I use the spirals and West African symbols, the Alintra symbols. I also incorporate them a little. So I try to make it very global, even though the base is Puerto Rican.
I wanted to connect the idea of what Sandra said about the skin color, different shades of skin in one family that is very common in my country, also in Peru. So, and that's, talking about symbolism, my collage, that specific one, if you see, they are how many kids? 2, 4, 6, 5 kids. And if you look at them, each of them has different features, and they are from the same family, they are different nephews and nieces. Now, there is one thing that I do in my work, that is, they don't have faces. Have you realized that they don't have faces? Yeah. And what's the reason is that even though I'm inspired and influenced by my culture and inspired by my family, I want to offer to the viewer something more universal. So they don't need to have a face. You see a child there, you see a posture, you see more language, body language, right? How they can be shy, or how they can be happy, you know, when they pose for a picture, you know, how one is distracted. All of these little details is what makes me happy when I get it, when I show it, and when people can see that. Or when people of any race look at my work and they can identify with it and find something that identifies them, and they are not necessarily a Latino. You know, it's the idea of globalization and of being inclusive, being part of the world. Estamos aquí, right? We are here.
Maria, could you talk more about your color pencil drawing piece and why hands, why we focus on the hands and what the hands are doing in that piece?
So my piece is titled Los Manos de mi Papá, the hands of my father. And in this piece, he's doing various things with his hands. Like, we all do different things with our hands. And I feel like there's so much that you can tell about a person with what they do. And so in this piece, he's doing what I think are all of his roles. So as an immigrant, he's had to assimilate all of these roles because of necessity, out of anything. Like, he's a plumber, he's a painter, he's a gardener, he's all of these things, engineer. And like, I depicted him working on like some mechanic stuff, working on gardening, working on eating a taco, because like even just looking at that, the taco itself, like my parents couldn't really eat meat growing up. They were basically vegans because they couldn't afford any of that stuff. And now it's like the complete opposite. My dad is the one in charge of cooking the meat at La Carne Asada, the cookout, and my mom is in the kitchen working on all of that. So it's placing these core memories into this image that's just his hands, because to me he has all of these roles in one, and I think that in itself is just showcasing that so many immigrants have all of these skills and shouldn't be looked down upon just because, I don't know, they're uneducated or something. Because my dad only went to what, like 7th grade? And so for him to be able to figure out all of these things on his own, I think is so amazing. So, yeah. Exactly, resilience.
Michelle, could you talk about your piece?
So my piece is Mujer Roja, right behind us. It is a ceramic triptych. I was lucky enough to take a workshop at the IDB Cultural Center, which is at the Inter-American Development Bank in downtown DC. They had this workshop where we could take a little ceramic panel, make a bas-relief sculpture out of it, make it whatever we wanted. And my instant thought was, I want to make a self-portrait. But I was really inspired by the works of Frida Kahlo and how she is able to express, you know, her struggles emotionally, physically, societally, and so many other ways. And I wanted to show more insecurity in a nude, rather than, you know, because I see so many nudes where they're like, look at me. And I wanted a nude that was a little bit opposite of that. I actually did figure drawing classes where I was the model, and 2 of the 3 times that I did it, I actually fainted because I didn't have lunch. So I wanted to show a nude that kind of reflected that you know, it's sometimes nudity is power, and then sometimes for others it's just vulnerability that feels a little like you just want to kind of, you know, as you see with the center panel, you just want to kind of struggle yourself to not show how you feel. I'm so honored to be a part of this exhibit, and sometimes when it comes to my culture, I feel a little insecure with that as well. I don't know Spanish very well, even though I've taken it, you know, since, you know, even up to college. But I feel like art is such a powerful way for people to express their experiences. And years from now, when people look back, it's through art that we're going to be able to have a better understanding of what people are going through right now.
Luis, could you talk, we discussed this piece right here, could you just share with the audience what you talked to me about?
Yeah, so this landscape I made was the final artwork I made in university, 2018. And a little bit about my experience was, I grew up in Northern Virginia, surrounded by my culture, the language, the food, family. And then I went to school in JMU, rural Virginia, Harrisonburg. So my culture evaporated, it was gone. And I was in Trump country and, you know, rural and a lot of white people. So I felt very isolated for the first few months, and without isolation was really fertile ground for rich ideas and for me to reconnect with my past and my family. And so my whole kind of experience at university was just connecting with what it meant for me to be Latino and Salvadorian American, and all those things, and kind of just explore all the themes that I could explore possibly. And so this was one of the final artworks, and a few things that are in there. There's it's a landscape, and it shows part of the under the earth. I'm really interested in the ancestral past, the lost histories, those histories that are gone, and that we can, in contemporary times, that we can bring up and like tell new stories with them. And it's just this lovely landscape with a few houses and a few symbolic meanings in there with like religion, and there's some really like there's like some calla lilies in the center, inspired by the famous Diego Rivera. But for me, they represent my grandmother, who always wore white and would pray all day long, and would always be so religious. And so, to me, those flowers represent her. It's just a lovely landscape of my kind of experience.
Thank you all so much. Those are all the questions that I have. Do you have questions for each other? Does the audience? We can open up for a Q&A. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being so sensible to all our expression. I can see it in your face. Thank you very much.
Don't make me emotional. This is a very emotional show for me. I just think that you all are also vulnerable, and the show is very intimate. You know, you get to, the audience gets to get up close and personal with, you know, your identities and your histories and your family, all these things that you're sharing with us. So it's really special. Thank you so much.
I just want to congratulate everyone, because everybody has their own theme in their art, but also bring us together as a Latinos. And in this country, it's very, as you say, it's emotional to know that.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
I hope you'll stay and enjoy now that you've heard a little bit more about the inspiration and the storytelling and how the artists themselves are featured in this work. Go back again and enjoy while we look for more wine for you. But just take a minute to absorb that this is one of the coolest things about exhibitions and opportunities that feature 8 artists like this that are coming back under one title, and what that means for them, and how eclectically diverse this particular exhibition and these artists are, is that we made a little bit of a moment here in history that can never be replicated again. And so I thank you for sharing that with us and for being part of the Black Rock story in this moment in time with us, and we will be able to savor that forever. So thank you. Tell your friends